Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're going to be opening up some Set 4 Ursa's Return starter decks. This is a huge honour for me. A huge thank you to Ravensburger for sending me some early product. I actually received these last Friday. You'll be seeing this video on Tuesday or Wednesday. But I've had a very busy weekend, so it's taken everything I have to not tear into these. But I finally found the time to be able to open them. Just as a disclaimer straight away, there's no pack in these particular ones. Normally the starter decks, every one that you can buy publicly will come with a booster pack included, but the media, the press versions, I'm press guys, apparently I'm press, but the press versions do not come with such a thing. They do come with I cannot resell this, but I don't plan to. I'm going to keep it forever. But yeah, really excited to tear into these, and yeah, let's get started. Alright, let's take a look. Our packaging, so we've got our quick start rules as usual. I don't think anything particularly different will be in here in comparison to prior starter decks. Obviously, it's showing set 4 cards, and I imagine it will talk about Sing Together maybe at some point in this book. Possibly not, but it gives you your quick rules, mentions locations, multiplayer games, yeah, turn order at a glance. So lots of good information for brand new players. We've got the mat that you can play on, or part of a mat. I'm sure most people will have their own, but if you haven't, then it is better than nothing. Also get these tokens, the lore symbol, and damage counters as well, which are good to have if you don't have dice, of course. Alright, here we go. We are officially in. Let's get all this stuff out of the way. Put the other one over there for the minute. So our first foil, of course, is Mirabel Madrigal, the new keyword, the new addition to Lorcana. Love to see it, nice and beautiful. That's our first foil. This is definitely my favourite foil, I think. I haven't even opened the second one yet, but I can tell already this is going to be my favourite foil from the starter decks. Love that, glad to have one of those. We've got a couple of Augustine. We've got the new Singer 7 Aerial, which is, of course, a lot of people are very excited to get brewing with the Sing Together mechanic. We've got 2 copies of Felix. We've got 2 Juliettas. We've got 2 of the new leader of the band, Mickey Mouse, who could be a shift target for the legendary Mickey Mouse Musketeer, who's not in this starter deck, but I thought I'd mention that. We've got a couple of Sebastians, so more singers. We've got the other Mirabel Madrigal. Shout out to Rebecca at the Illuminary. I believe that was her card reveal. A couple of Rollies, so again, we are seeing cards from previous sets. We've got the new Bodyguard, Prince Eric. Very nice. 1, 2, 3 copies. We've got the new 2-cost Stitch, which I really like the art for this, and it plays into the Rockstar because he can be an adoring fan. Very nice. We've got a couple of Heal What Has Been Hurt. We've got Healing Glow from set 1. Our first Sing Together song. Look at this family. I actually think this is probably going to be one of the better ones in general. So good to have that in this deck. A couple of copies of Lost in the Woods. Of course, continuing with our theme here in this particular deck, Amber Amethyst, which is the Madrigals. 3 copies of Antonio. Love that art. Love that. We've got a couple of Elsas from Chapter 1. We've got Camillo Madrigal, a couple of those. I think this is definitely one of the more interesting ones. Getting to choose to either gain a lore or Challenger 2. You have to see it. We've got Dolores, who can let you draw cards. Of course, the Persistent Presence. Hey. Of course, kind of makes sense that I bet he comes up in every other starter deck. This is definitely one of the more interesting Madrigal characters. Evasive, gaining 3 lore if no other characters have quested. Of course, Leave It To Me means that if she quests, then other characters can't quest, but that seems fine. You just use her as your quester, and then have your other characters just be challenging or singing songs, things like that. So I think she's one of the better Madrigals. We've got Louisa with Rush. Shout out to Surface Pressure, one of the best songs in that film. Love a bit. I do love Encanto. We got 3 copies of the new Marshmallow, and it gets a +1 strength for each card in your hand. I don't think it's great. Pepper Madrigal, I think, is one of the more interesting ones as well. Just being able to exert characters is very strong. We've got the Queen, a couple of copies. We've got the new TikTok, Ever Present Pursuer. He's a big boy. We've got the song Poor Unfortunate Souls. Couple of copies of that. Love to see it. Big fan. And then we've got 3 copies of the Location Casa Madrigal. So a little bit of everything to build your Madrigal deck. There are, of course, other Madrigals that aren't in this starter deck that, if you want to run a Madrigal deck the best it can be, you will definitely want to pick up, especially the one that has a tutor effect to grab a Madrigal out of the deck and put it on top. But this is a really great start, and again, these are perfect for just whether you're a beginner or whether even you're an experienced player, just picking up a starter deck each and just having a game. I'm a big fan of that, even though I like playing at a competitive level. I'm a big fan of just starter deck games. I think they're a lot of fun. Let you play the game differently and highlight some cards that you wouldn't necessarily always play in competitive. So yeah, love to see that. Let's crack on with the other one. But yeah, the same rules book, tokens, a mat. But then of course we are most interested in the cards. Give me them cards. Give it to me. If we look upon them, set 4 cards. Beautiful. Right, we're starting with the new Anna True Hearted. Again, these fools just... I'm a sucker for shiny things. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. I'm just a sucker for shiny things. And of course, Hercules in all his glory. Shout out to Zach Bivens, who I know will be very keen to pick up a full copy of this. And yeah, this is... what colours have we even got here? We've got Sapphire Steel. Very strong deck in the meta. We've got a couple of copies of Anna, Braving the Storm. We've got Basil from set 2. We've got some Aurora from set 1. We've also got the new Aurora, 2 cost Ingable 1/3 with Ward, which definitely sounds interesting. I think that would definitely be... No, not necessarily. The other two. The other one has 2 lore. But again, if it's just meant to be a shift target, then you'd probably prioritise the Ward character. If your shift target was significant enough, a couple of copies of that. We've got the Transform Chef. I'm a big fan of this card. I don't think it's great, but it's a lot of fun. I love the art. To be fair, 2 lore. When you play him, remove up to 2 damage from a chosen character. Yeah, nothing to shout about, but love the art, as is often the case with Lorcana. Couple of flounders, shout out to the citizens of Lorcana. Yo, new Pascal meta is coming. 3 cost Inkable. When you play this character, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put them back in any order. That's not bad, you know. In a starter deck, against starter deck, I feel like that would be pretty good. We've got the new Prince Philip, 3 cost Inkable supports, and whenever one of your characters is chosen for support, they gain resist 1 this turn. And questing for 2, yeah, definitely going to be a strong card in starter deck versus starter deck, or in sealed events that you might be playing. That sounds quite good. A couple of copies of Mickey Detective, one of the best rampers in the game. A copy of the new Rapunzel, quest for 3, and if we have Pascal in play, this character gains Ward. I'm telling you, Pascal meta, it's coming. We've got the new Sisu, 6 cost Inkable 6/6. I hadn't actually seen this card before this moment. That's cool. Very pretty. Very pretty. We've got our first Sing Together song in this particular starter deck. Dig a Little Deeper. I don't know. I'm kind of a believer in this. Realistically, it's probably too expensive and uninkable. But just choosing 2 cards from the top 7 sounds strong, especially in Sapphire that's ramping anyway. So I'm not writing Dig a Little Deeper off yet. I think it's going to be pretty good. We've got Seldom Will They Seem, one of the most classic scenes in Disney history, in my opinion. Really famous silhouette there. Love to see it. We've got the new One Drop Aladdin that I'm very excited for. Very excited. We've got the Aerial. What's this one do? When you play a song, you may draw a card, then choose and discard a card. Sounds good to me. I like it. Obviously, we've got that sort of effect on cheaper bodies like Simba and Cinderella. But if we want a shift target, then this is great. Or if we want a slightly better stat line, so good. We've got a couple of Keyders from Rise of the Floodborn. No, these were Into the Inklings, I believe. One or the other, but a previous set. We've got the new Li Shang, 5 cost Inkable 5/5. Lots of love for Mulan in this set, and the Mulan love continues. With Ling, your hero characters get +1 strength. I was really impressed by this until I saw Lumiere, who gives the +1 strength to all characters. But of course, he's in Ruby. You might not be playing with Ruby. And if you are playing a lot of heroes in a steel deck, then I feel like this is still going to be pretty good. So glad to see it in the starter deck. This is the one I'm really excited to see in the new starter deck, the new Mickey Mouse. Because there's also a Mickey Mouse, not in the starter deck, but in the in the set in Ursa's Return, the steel one that goes with magic brooms. So this is a great shift target for that. And maybe more on the fun side, semi-competitive side, is the legendary Musketeer, who now has a much cheaper shift target. So I think they're really good ads. The Robin Hoods are good ads as well from Into the Inklands as a shift target for a very good legendary from that set. We've got a couple of Mulans. I've not seen these Mulans. Some of these arts I haven't even seen. This, I think, is going to be so good. I really do. I think there's a place for this. Just being able to put down tons of cheap heroes and gain so much lore. You could work it with Amber and play Rockstar Stitch, and you're playing Adoring Fans and gaining more lore. So yeah, I think there's a real world where this matters in the metagame. One Last Hope. Really glad to see this song in the game. Love this art. Chosen character gains resist 2, but if a chosen character is chosen, they can challenge ready characters, which is such a strong effect, and we don't have it on many cards. And this may be necessary to take out things like Prince John or Bucky, who obviously have wards or are hard to remove and could just be so good. So this may be a response card to that. The fact that it's uninkable does hurt it, but I'm a big fan of the art on that. Shout out to the Illuminateers for revealing that. A couple of smashes from Chapter 1, still a good card worth having. We got the new Imperial Bows, Exert pay 1, Chosen Hero gains Challenger 2, and Evasive this turn, which if you're building that hero deck, they're going to be very strong. And then our location of choice in this deck are 3 copies of Thebes, 2 cost Ingable, 1/7, and during your turn, whenever a character banishes another character in a challenge while here, gain 2 lore. So that means that your character has to be the one at Thebes, and it's banishing an opposing character. But yeah, a really obviously the emphasis on heroes in this particular deck. So between the two, which do I think is better? Straight away, my instinct is I think that the Sapphire Steel Anna Hercules deck has more cards in it that I would expect to potentially be important in the meta. Of course, there's some like Smash which are relevant on and off, but that's from an older set. But if we're talking strictly about the cards that are from Ursa's Return, I think Philatites definitely is going to be important. I think these Mickey Mouses, I think probably more on the fun side, whether you're going with trying to build the Musketeer deck or the Broom deck. But now that we have a 1-drop Broom believers, let me see you in chat. But yeah, maybe competitive, but definitely on the fun competitive level, these Mickeys are going to be good to have. I think these Lings are actually going to be important just as math fixers. Again, obviously it's only to heroes, but again, if you're not playing with Ruby, then you don't have access to Lumiere, who would be better. So I still think this card is very strong. This is our first Li Shang card. Obviously it's not massively relevant, but if we get a really good Floodborn, then maybe, but more so just because it's our only one at the moment. The Keyders from previous sets are good to have. The Aerials, maybe, because there is a Floodborn Aerial in this set, and if you didn't want to play with Amber, which I think you should, but if you didn't want to play with Amber for any reason, then this is probably your Floodborn of choice, so maybe. I think these Aladdins could come up at some point. It's there's a new Floodborn Aladdin in this set where you have to discard a card to play him. I think it's a location to shift him. So if that ever becomes relevant, then this 1-drop would be good to have. There's also already the Heroic Outlaw from Chapter 1, who if that ever comes back into meta and we're playing Red Steel, Ruby Steel, then these are going to be very important. Dig a little deeper, maybe. Testing needs to be done. Obviously, if you're a newer player and you don't have older cards, then the Mickey Mouses are going to be useful to have. Other than that, the Auroras potentially. I mean, we already have one Floodborn Aurora, who is pretty good. She doesn't see a lot of play, but giving ward to all of your other characters is good. She doesn't see a lot of play at the moment, but if she ever does, then this is probably your shift target of choice. It could be the Chapter 1 one, but that is provided as well. So potentially those. Thebes, I'm not sure. I'm not a huge believer of it in the metagame. But some of these cards could come up as responses, like Thebes, just if we just want a cheap location. Imperial Bow, if we are playing a lot of heroes, then being able to give them Evasive and Challenger 2 sounds pretty good. Maui's Fishhook saw play. Admittedly, that was any character, and could be done for free if you had a Maui. But paying 1 for this is quite reasonable. It's 2 cost, it's inkable, and if all your deck are already heroes, and I actually think Imperial Bow could potentially have a place. Obviously, the One Last Hope is a rare. I mentioned the Smashes. If you don't have older cards, then things like the Robin Hoods, the Smashes, the Keeders, they're going to be cards that are going to be good to have. The Mickey Mouses. And then other things could become relevant as the game goes on. So yeah, for this particular deck, when it comes to the meta, I think everything on this table here could be important to pick up, some more than others. I think immediately the most important things that could be good now, you're looking at Philatites, maybe the One Last Hope, maybe the Mickeys, maybe the Dig a Little Deepers, maybe the Lings, and then the others are like loose but good to have. But again, just as a starter deck, there's everything here that you need to learn the game, or even if you already know the game, just have a game with someone. Again, it's always interesting going from like meta play to playing sealed or starter decks. It lets you play with cards that you wouldn't ordinarily get the chance to, which I personally really enjoy. When it comes to the other deck, there is the Bruno. I think being uninkable really hurts him. It is an interesting ability. It's definitely going to be a card that you want to have, as are a lot of these Madrigals, because again, I mentioned before the Madrigal, the 3 cost that lets you take a Madrigal and put it at the top of your deck. That's such a strong ability. I don't know if we have enough good Mirabelles to make that. For that to also to make it enough for them to be competitively viable. I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong. But as time goes on, I think we're going to get stronger and stronger Madrigals that any of these could end up becoming better than they currently are just because they have the Madrigal keyword. So I do think this is worth picking up because you get a lot of the Madrigal stuff. So obviously the Mirabelle is probably going to be an important piece. Again, you get this aerial if you are going to be leaning into Sing Together, or if you really want to sing Be Prepared, then be my guest. The Casa Madrigal, I think, is okay. Again, if you're playing the Madrigal deck, then they're definitely pieces you're going to need. Poor Unfortunate Souls, I think, is good meta response card. It's very similar to Befuddle, which already sees play. So I think they're good to have. TikTok, maybe not. He is bulky, hard to deal with the evasive. I don't see it being immediately relevant, but he's cool. The Queens, maybe not so much. I think Pepper Madrigal definitely has a place. Some people may be Marshmallow believers. I'm not. But he could get to high strength. I think being uninkable really hurts him, so I don't know if I'm confident enough to put him on the table. Louisa, probably not right now. Isabella, definitely. Like if you're an older player, there's some cards in here that might interest you. What's Dolores? When you play this character, if your opponent has an exerted character in play, you may draw a card. Yeah, I actually think that could be interesting. I'm not saying I think it immediately gets added to Amethyst decks, but it's one of the stronger effects among the Madrigals. They're all quite interesting, and I think could get better just with more supports. And again, if you like the Madrigals and you like Encanto, this is a perfect deck for you to pick up. Look at this family. I think good chance that ends up being good. The Stitches, maybe in a Rockstar Stitch like heavy deck, because it's another shift target and an adoring fan. If you're looking for cheap bodyguarders, then the Erics are going to be good to have. We've got the cheaper Mirabelle Madrigals, which may be something that you want to play in that deck. The Sebastians, again, if you're a newer player and you don't have older cards, then Sebastians could come in handy if Sing Together songs end up being particularly good. These Mickeys maybe, the Juliettas maybe. The rest is good for starter deck games and for sealed content. But yeah, I think there's a few things in both decks, some more than others, that are going to be worth picking up and having play sets for. If I'm being completely honest, if you can only get one, obviously you're going to take the preference on which one has characters that you like, or the colours that you like, or play styles you like. When it comes to what is more likely to have cards that are important in the meta, I'm leaning more towards our Sapphire Steel deck. I'm a big believer in the Hercules. I think the Mickey could have potential. I think ever since I saw a one-drop broom, that maybe I'm being baited, but I want to believe. Yeah, I think there's quite a few things in here that could be interesting immediately. And again, if you're a newer player, then things like Robin Hoods and Smashes are good to have. In the other deck, I think Poor Unfortunate Souls is one of your key ones that you definitely want. Other than that, even outside of a dedicated Madrigal deck, like Bruno's an interesting ability. Dolores is an interesting ability, and where's she gone? The Golden Child. Isabella. I think Isabella has a lot of potential to be interesting. So, yeah, if you can get both, get both. I have always got both starter decks for every set just because I like having that. I buy one each to open, and then like that starts my collection. And then I'll be honest, I do also buy one of each extra that I've kept sealed, and that's sort of like my long-term investment. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Not a lot more to say. Hopefully this has been interesting for you to watch. If you've been considering if you want to buy these or if you buy one or the other, hopefully this has been informative, or if you've just enjoyed watching me have the pleasure of opening some set 4 cards. But that's pretty much it. Let me know down in the comments which of these starter decks do you think is better and what are your reasons. I'll hear all about it down below. But again, a huge thank you to Ravensburger for the honour of sending me some early product to get my hands on. I'm so ready for Ursa's return. But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit the like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.